I opened my mouth a few times, but no sound came out, just stared at him, frozen in place. His features had grown even more striking. Tall and straight like a white poplar defying the desert. His eyes were still beautiful, light brown with tiny glimmers dancing across them. But they held no focus, empty, hollow. He looked like a perfectly made doll with no soul inside. No reply came, so he spoke again. "Sorry to bother you." Our colleague, who'd just returned from grabbing lunch, glanced over with a puzzled look. "Anthony? You okay? Why aren't you saying anything?" I snapped back to myself. By then, the colleague had already ushered John in, seated him, poured water, asked questions, all smooth and natural. Finally, I found my voice again. "Yeah." The delay was long. By the time I spoke, they'd already moved on to another topic. My colleague was now gently going over details with John. "You said your family submitted the application for home visit support? Your own wishes?" John nodded. "Yeah, I just got back to the country. Still figuring things out. Thanks for your help." My coworker nudged me, tilting their head toward John, voice barely above a whisper. "This guy's got a mood swing like no other. Just seconds ago he was saying the exact opposite. No need to worry. I'm used to doing things alone. One more question and he'd be all, sure thing, thanks for the help." The coworker kept mumbling on. "We're already short-staffed. Looks like you and me are stuck with overtime again." John held a single-use plastic cup, a thin pale wrist peeking out from the sleeve. The water reflected off it, glowing like a piece of luminous jade. His smile had vanished, replaced by quiet stillness as he sat across the glass door. John had gone so much quieter now, almost unrecognizable. I felt a pang of sadness. In my memory, there was the boy with eyes that crinkled when he smiled, the tiny bundle of white cotton I once knew, growing into a lanky teenager. Whenever our eyes met, he'd always flash that wide, unmistakable grin and call out with such easy trust, "Bro." 5 years gone. Like a lifetime in one blink. Everything's changed. People too. We don't even know each other anymore. He doesn't recognize me, and I can't bring myself to say his name. The coworker's quiet grumbling still hadn't stopped. Neither of us is a full-time staff member at the Disabled Welfare Center. We're teachers at a special needs school, government-funded, so we're tied to the Disability Association Center under its umbrella. When they're swamped, the school sends staff over for rotations. Just a few hours a day, or up to a week, helping out with folks who need support. Sometimes it's as short as a month. Other times, up to half a year. My coworker nudged my arm. "I'm swamped here. Got no one else. Your grandma's still not ready to go, right? Can we swap? She lives on Chunshao Street, number 18. Only 2 blocks from where you stay." "Sure." I said it before thinking. I knew I shouldn't have agreed. I promised my foster mom never to show up near John again. But here he is, knocking on this door, walking back into my life. Doesn't count as breaking rules, does it? And I'd promised her too. I swore I'd be John's eyes. Protect him, care for him, look after him. That was a vow I once made to keep. My coworker got my nod and didn't waste a second. He bolted out the door to sort things with John. I saw him glance up toward where I was, just a small, quiet nod, lips turning up slightly, so gentle, like my foster mom. My foster mom, the woman who brought me home, gave me warmth, changed my name, paid for my education, and handed John into my hands herself. I was an orphan, parents unknown, had no memory of anything else but growing up in the orphanage. She was the head of the orphanage, the one who brought me home, gave me warmth, changed my name, paid for my education, and handed John into my hands herself. I was an orphan, parents unknown, with no memory of anything before the orphanage. My foster mother was the head of the orphanage. Back then, I called her Sophia. When I turned 8, she picked me out from all the kids there. She took my hand in hers, asked if I'd let her be my mom. I nodded, and from that moment on, she was mine. She led me home, repeating one name over and over again, John. My foster mother was soft-spoken and kind. Everyone in the orphanage adored her. Every kid there dreamed of being hers, even just once. The way she spoke his name, there was something different in it, softer than anything I'd ever heard before. I hadn't met John yet, but already I was a little jealous of him. Jealous he had the best mom in the world. It was late autumn. The ginkgo leaves painted the air gold by the wind. Leaves fell like rain, never ending, too many to sweep away. I finally saw John. He was 4. Round face, soft and fair, eyes bright and wide, crouched on the ground gathering up a whole fistful of ginkgo leaves, held them close in both hands, like they were a bouquet, launched himself into my arms, flooding me with autumn's quiet warmth. He wasn't shy. Pressed a wet kiss right onto my cheek, sticky with saliva, called out to me, soft and sure, brother. Back then, he still saw, just diagnosed with a rare, untreatable illness. Every day after that, his sight faded a little more. If luck ran bad, blindness wasn't a question, it was just a matter of time. He called me brother from 4 years old all the way to 20. 16 years we stayed close, side by side, from family to something more. Then came an accident. Left with wounds and a broken trust, we lost touch. 5 years passed like a blink, shattered everything we'd built. Now, meeting again, I didn't dare ask if he could ever forgive me. Just one dazed moment. My coworker had already escorted him out the door. He came back in, wiping tiny droplets from his hairline with a tissue. Early spring in Yongcheng, weather changes fast. The rain was light and soft, drizzling down like silk, soaking into your bones. John hadn't brought an umbrella. I grabbed mine and ran after him, lost in the crowd. In the middle of the crowd, he wore a pale beige sweater, light khaki pants, and the thin wrists of his arms held a white cane. Walking along the poorly maintained sidewalk meant for the blind, he felt his way forward, inch by cautious inch, brushing past pedestrians and bumping into stray lampposts now and then. I raised my umbrella overhead, shielding him from the rain. He tilted his head up slightly, his expression blank as he looked toward me, his body tensing instinctively. A delicate film of mist clung to his lashes, making him look almost fragile. I took a few deep breaths before speaking. I'm Anthony, from the assistance center. I'll be coming by your place regularly to help you get used to daily routines. I pressed my ID card into his fingertips. Thank God. His name was printed in clear script, with tiny braille underneath. His shoulders relaxed a little. I remember your voice. People hurried past under umbrellas. Kids dared the rain, racing their bikes down the street. We'd need to cross this block, then the road, only then could we flag a cab. I reached out my hand. Let me guide you. You're soaked. Your clothes and hair are wet. You should get back soon and change. John caught colds easily, and once he did, he'd cough nonstop. Outside the alleyway, there was a big loquat tree always getting picked at by me. Dried loquat leaves, pear, and a few cubes of sweet rock candy stewed together in syrup. He hated taking medicine, but he'd always finish the pear soup with that little spoon. Not a drop left. The words were out before I realized how rude they sounded. I barely knew him, after all. There are so many people on the street. I was scrambling for an excuse, or maybe just through his sleeve. A slightly chilly hand landed in mine. I knew I was shaking. Slowly, I closed my fingers around his, warming them up. We walked down the block, got in the car, stepped out, wound through familiar alleys, and finally saw that well-known courtyard gate. John pulled back his hand. I'm home now, thanks for today. His warmth still lingered in my palm. I stared at the closed door, almost wistful. The sky had cleared, just a faint rainbow hanging in the distance. A soft spring breeze. I was the one who'd caught a chill. That night, I burned up with fever, the past clawing at me like some wild beast tearing through flesh and mind. Those questions, each one sharper than a needle, pierced straight into my chest. Her voice, my adoptive mother's. Caleb, I pulled you out of the orphanage to take care of John. What were you two even doing? When I'm not around, what did you do to him? I fed you, raised you. This is how you repay me. I'm going to press charges. You're going to prison. The apology I couldn't speak died on my lips, smacked back by a slap. My mouth split open. Blood flooded in, thick and coppery. John sobbed inside the locked room, voice raw from crying. Mom, don't call the police. Mom, please open up. Don't hurt Caleb. It's me. I like him. It's not his fault. We're in love. I'm 20 now. I can choose my own life. I swallowed the bitterness, speaking soft into the door. John, it's okay. You don't have to cry. Your eyes'll feel worse in a bit. Worse than the slap. Hearing you trapped inside, screaming with nowhere to go. She twisted my arm and shoved me toward the door. John doesn't have a brother like you. It was winter, a brutal snowstorm, one of those rare ones. The city hadn't seen a storm like this in years. I wasn't wearing a coat, just a thin wool sweater, useless against the cold. I curled up on the ground, back pressed to the wall of the yard. Looking up, I watched huge flakes fall like John's favorite cotton candy, piling high, soft yet heavy, blanketing everything in silence. So light, yet so cold, like a kiss from winter itself. The fire broke out in the dead of night, tearing through the thick dark with its hungry glow. I jolted awake from a daze, limbs stiff and screaming in pain. When I scrambled over the wall, the iron gate raked my skin, deep cuts blooming like scars on a map. I fell hard, every inch of me burning with agony. The foster mom was shaking too badly to find the key to John's room door. His cries had already faded, thin, barely there. I grabbed a stool, smashed it into the lock again and again, desperate. 1 hit, 2 hits, my hands went numb. The lock gave way. John tumbled out, sprawled on the floor amid thick black smoke. I pulled him close, pressed a soaked towel over his mouth and nose, damp with water, cool against the heat, got him out just as the fire alarm screamed and ambulance sirens wailed in the distance. High-pressure hoses doused the flames. All that remained was the stench of burnt wood and lingering smoke. I wouldn't let go, clutching John like he was part of me, bone deep, skin tight, wanting him to stay with my heartbeat, safe inside me, where no harm could reach. When I came back to myself, it wasn't relief, just a slow, icy ache, throbbing through every nerve, biting into flesh and bone. My foster mother stood silhouetted against the light, her hair a little messy. John's awake. Relief flashed for just an instant. Then her voice cracked with tears. John can't see anymore. He's completely blind now. The thick smoke from the fire had burned out his eyes, stolen what little light he'd ever had left. And once again, the abyss swallowed me whole. No trace of me left behind. I'm taking John abroad for treatment. I'll cover all his medical costs. But the pale face finally revealed its features, her tone sharp with finality. From now on, you're not allowed to see John. Never again. Not ever. I jolted awake. The room was dim, a pale dawn creeping in through the window. Just past 6. My body was drenched in sweat, the fever gone. I dragged myself to shower and change, limbs heavy and weak. I took a detour, headed straight for Chunshao Street. Up on the second-floor balcony, John's clothes were hanging out to dry. A cream-colored sweater, khaki pants. Good. This wasn't some cruel dream I'd made up just to hurt myself. I've had this nightmare too many times before. Once, in a dream, John jumped straight into my arms, his face alive with light, his eyes clear and bright. Bro, my eyes are fixed. I'm back. You miss me. I did. I missed you so much it was driving me insane. At 3 a.m., I throw on my coat and bolt outside, waiting all night by the alleyway. Bitter cold, no light up in the windows, nobody answering the door. He crashed into me that summer, me out searching for him in winter. One autumn apart, and I conjured a spring just to see you again. Street vendors roused from sleep, firing up their electric scooters, hawking jasmine soy milk. John opened the door, bought a pouch of it, creamy white soy milk in a clear bag, studded with a few pristine jasmine blossoms. I crouched just out of sight, hands over my face, choking back sobs. Only 2 classes that morning. I wrapped things up with the staff, handing off my grandma to him. She'd been under my care all this time. The phone rang, her voice soft and warm. Anthony? Same time today, 6 p.m. I bought some pickled mustard greens this morning. We're having mustard green pork cutlet noodles tonight. Grandma's a university professor. Lost her right hand in an accident while shielding a student. Her kids are overseas. She won't bother anyone, refuses to hire full-time help. The first time I visited, she was practicing slicing vegetables with her left hand. The plate was a mess. Tiny tomato chunks, uneven, some nearly minced. That last dinner, we ate it at her place, the one she cooked herself. Tomato pasta, rich, thick sauce, noodles smooth and silky. You'd never know the tomatoes had been through any kind of knife torture. Grandma picked up cooking and living in just a month. Probably didn't stop helping. Maybe because it was the last day of the 1-month deadline. Evening came, sky painted with streaks of sunset. I cleared the dishes and was about to head out with the trash bag in hand. She walked me to the door, then whispered lightly, "You forgot your house key." Home was still a dream out of reach. From teacher Emma to someone I could finally open up to. Just half a year, but it felt like forever. I knew she missed her family overseas, yet didn't want to burden them. She knew I had someone back home I was missing too. Someone far away. I apologized as I brought up the change request. Grandma let out a soft laugh. Anthony saw her, didn't he? I froze, then she continued. Your voice sounded different today. lighter, happier. And you're responsible, Anthony. You wouldn't change your mind on a whim. No need to switch out. I can handle it myself. Whenever you've got time, bring the girl you've been hiding in your heart for dinner. I've got plenty of dishes I'm proud of. It's not a girl. It's a boy. He's a really good kid. The line went silent on the other end. I let out a sigh. This kind of thing. Hardly anyone gets it. Not being accepted is just the norm. Boys need meals too, you know. Keep at it, you get him back, and I'll cook up a storm. Back then, I brushed it off, just said we'd split unexpectedly. Splitting up was tough. Getting back together, pure fantasy. Didn't pay a lick of attention in afternoon class. John. Just John. That name filled my whole head. He's been abroad so long. Will he even adjust to life here? The tactile paving's a mess. He could be in real danger out there, with all those electric scooters around. Can he actually cook? Know where to buy groceries? Will vendors rip him off? Swap a tomato for a potato on his plate? John hates potatoes more than anything. He's so pretty, so sweet. He won't get taken advantage of. Will he? Back in the day, people already messed with him. Tried luring him with candy, even reached to touch his face. He's so innocent. He didn't hesitate at all when I said we could hold hands yesterday. This class, whoever's into whoever, I'm fully committed now. I burst through the dean's office door. He looked up from his takeout, eyes full of confusion. Wait, did I get the wrong order? No, I want to take my vacation. The dean exhaled slowly. Close the door. Get out. Go to HR in the third office on the left and sort it out. I picked up some of John's favorite dishes and snacks. I couldn't wait. I rushed over. I rang the bell. Footsteps approached, slow at first, then closer. The door opened. Our eyes locked. My smile froze on my face. Blood drained from it. My childhood friend from the orphanage. Andrew. The doorknob creaked in his grip. For a second, I thought he'd punch me right there. And that kind of fist had hit me before. More than once. He was the first to find out about John and me. One dumpling, we shared it together, just us two. By the time we finished, a smudge of black sesame syrup clung to his lips. Kissed it away, slow and careful. Sweet wasn't just the dumpling, John was sweet too. Andrew shoved me to the ground, stepping in front of John like a shield. You're out of your mind, Caleb. How could you do this to Ning, the one who first said no to our love? It was Andrew. The brother we called Big Bro. He's 2 years older than me, always followed the foster mother like she held all the answers. He couldn't accept it, couldn't even try to understand. By blood and bond, he should have been the one taken home first. He's hot-headed. I'm calm. That's why she chose me. A mother's heart is full of twists. She picks what she thinks is best for her child. Choices shift, and feelings change over time. Andrew was gonna tell the foster mother. We spent hours trying to talk him down. Took us ages to talk him into it. He loved his foster mom, saw John as family, like a brother, and in the end, it was John's tears that broke through. He gave in. Kept our secret. Later, he said I'd abandoned John, just like I betrayed him. Caleb, he spat, you ungrateful bastard. You should have burned to ash. John's voice came from the living room. Andrew. Who's that? Andrew stared at me, his eyes blazing with disgust and venom. Don't know him. Must have knocked on the wrong door. He shot me a warning look. Then the door started to close right in front of my eyes. Should I give up? With Andrew here, John'll be fine. Should I just leave? Don't ever show up in John's life again. But I only saw him yesterday. John, I called out. John came over and pushed the door back open before it could shut. It's Anthony. He's from the Disabled Federation, sent to check in. Andrew, he didn't knock the wrong door. Andrew's gaze turned sharp, like a laser slicing through me. I swear it felt like he wanted to turn me into Swiss cheese. I clutched the plastic bags, shifting awkwardly on my feet. Anthony, can you cook? I can. Could you maybe whip up something to eat? I'm kinda hungry. John led me into the kitchen. Thanks for this. No worries, totally fine. I pulled out the prepped ingredients and tossed the snacks into the fridge. Then I opened the fridge door and froze for a second. Everything was already neatly arranged inside. All of John's favorites. I let out a wry smile. Maybe Andrew should have been the older brother instead. I glanced over. John was already dragging Andrew outside. Backs turned. No way to read their expressions. Nearly cut my finger while dicing the tomatoes. This might be the last meal I ever make for John. He's always been picky, too salty, too bland. Too sour, too spicy, none of it worked. Thin as a kitten, his foster mom was swamped, and after the housekeeper quit, John lost 5 pounds in just 2 weeks. Cooking was one of the first things I learned. To raise a finicky little cat like him, money isn't enough. You need a whole lot of love, but do I still have enough to give? And does he even want it anymore? A simple home-cooked meal, nothing special. It's the flavor John used to love. Wonder if he still likes it now. Andrew didn't say a thing to me in front of John. After dinner, Andrew spoke up. John, you go wash the dishes. I've got something to talk to Anthony about. Was this his way of telling me not to bother John anymore? Andrew, I can't see. How about letting Anthony do the dishes? I'll walk you out. John grabbed Andrew's sleeve. John, if it's too much trouble, just move in with me. I'm sure my wife won't mind. I had your room all set up already. Sophia raised me, and before she left for abroad, she handed the orphanage over to me. She gave me a solid life plan. When you came back home, Sophia called me specifically to look after you. I've always thought of you as my little brother. It's okay. I'll go with you. I gathered the dishes and stacked them in the sink, guiding John's hand, showing him where everything was kept around the house. Dish soap's right here. I glanced at his hands, but I held back what I'd almost said. Maybe wait till I get back to do it myself. At the entryway, John rushed out after me. Anthony, you're really coming back, right? Yeah. I'll be back. Don't worry. The contract's for 6 months. Even if I don't show up, they'll send someone else reliable. Andrew had already slipped on his shoes and stepped out into the courtyard. I'll do my best to talk him down. I glanced back. John was rubbing his eyes. You okay? Something wrong? We walked one after another down the alleyway. The spring breeze drifted past, soft and warm. Kids laughing in the distance, neighbors chatting over garden fences. You're lying to John again. Dead serious. Caleb, you were the one who pushed him away in the first place. He just gone blind. And you told him not to drag you down. You crushed him. And still, he smiled, wished you well. Caleb, know what John did after you left. I know, I never actually left. I saw him cry. Silent tears, one by one. But still smiling through it all. I nearly broke down the door that day. I wanted to grab him and run. I'd have sold blood, kidneys, liver if I had to. Everything I could sell, I would have sold it. To keep him, to take care of him, to stay with him forever. But I couldn't. I just couldn't be that selfish. My foster mother was right. You're still dependent on me. What right do you have to give John happiness? Do you want me to take him abroad for eye treatment, or just keep dragging a blind boy around forever? How could I let him live like that? John's terrified of the dark. He craves light. His eyes are so beautiful. If I could, I'd give him my sight in a heartbeat. He has a real shot at seeing again. I can't stand in his way. John asked me just now if he smiled well enough. Will his brother notice the lie? He said, Andrew, I'm a little sad. Tears hit the floor without a sound. I'm still alive, still breathing, but I hurt so damn bad. It's like my soul's being torn apart. I hate seeing John cry. I'd never want that. His tears come too easy. He whimpers if a mosquito bites him. He holds them back, keeps them in his eyes. I'd stay up all night watching over him. Keep him safe from bugs. But the one who ends up making him cry the most, that's me. It's me. He felt so broken. Caleb, I just don't get your kind of love. But I need to tell you something. Stop tormenting John already. His voice was so soft, barely audible, like he didn't even know how to start. Sophia remarried and had a kid. A boy healthy as can be. Why? Wasn't it always supposed to be about taking John away? Why? Don't overthink it. It was John who set it all up. Caleb, Sophia's business is growing fast. She can't just leave it without an heir. John had 3 surgeries in 5 years. Now he's completely blind. I don't care if you had your reasons back then. Andrew stared at me, eyes red-rimmed. Stop lying to him, Caleb. Anthony, that name was mine to give you in the first place. Think about it. Both of you are my brothers. Look after John. And if I ever see him hurt, don't think twice. I'll knock you down myself. I nodded. I couldn't help but promise eagerly. I'll take good care of him, I swear. I didn't mean to lie to him. But he doesn't remember me anymore. I'm going to get him used to everything first, just in case he gets mad when I finally tell him the truth and then rejects me. He can still live a decent life. I wouldn't trust anyone else to look after him. Seriously, Andrew stared at me, giving a cold little laugh as he promised. He muttered under his breath, Idiot. Fine. I'm an idiot, so what? When I turned back, John was standing by the sink. Water had spilled all over the floor. I rushed over, shut off the tap, then pulled his icy hands out of the water, dabbed each one dry with a paper towel, slowly, carefully. What happened? Your hands are freezing. Your clothes and pants are soaked. Did your shoes get wet too? What about your socks? Let's go change you. Where'd you leave your clothes? Anyway, John's old room was on the second floor. I wasn't sure if it had been changed yet. I took his hand and led him upstairs. The scorched area had been completely restored, looking just like nothing had changed at all. I pulled his clothes from the closet and handed them to him, turning my back. Change your clothes. His icy hands clung to the hem of my shirt, gripping so hard his knuckles turned white. I thought you weren't coming back. Wet patches spread across my chest, water still dripping down his pant legs. His hands were that cold, and his feet had to be even colder. I nearly wanted to strip him bare and dress him myself. He looked so utterly wounded, like a kitten who'd been left out in the rain. I couldn't even get mad. Only helpless frustration remained. I signed on for 6 months, and I'm not walking away. Just change first. The rustling of clothes shifting behind me followed. And what about after 6 months? Will you still come back? That one I couldn't answer. I knew John seemed gentle, but he was stubborn as stone, just like his adoptive mother. Zero tolerance for abandonment or betrayal. When he was 7, the biological father who'd left them came knocking again. John threw every single thing the man brought right out the door, shouting at him, furious, "Get lost. I'll never accept you as my father. Not in this lifetime." The man came back a few more times after that, but never once got the chance to have a real conversation with John. "If you need anything, call me. I'll come." The sound of rustling clothes stopped. I brought over the hot water and crouched down in front of him, gently lifting his feet. "What are you doing? Your shoes and socks are soaked. Let me soak your feet, or you'll catch a cold." I took off his shoes and socks, then eased his icy feet into the warm water. He seemed nervous, the toes curled slightly. I'd taken care of him before, changing clothes, washing his feet, even things more intimate. Back when he was little, I washed him in the bath every time. It all felt second nature. Slipped on socks and slippers. Then it hit me. This was only our second day knowing each other. Kinda got a bit too close, didn't I? His face turned slightly red, and his eyelashes fluttered. Everything wrapped up, almost 10 o'clock now. I hung the last piece of laundry on the balcony. Gotta find someone to install a secure, enclosed window here soon. Otherwise, John's gonna keep walking in and out. What if he slips, even with the railing up to my chest? In the next few days, I'll come by every day. Get you settled in, show you around the neighborhood, how things are laid out at home, all that stuff. You miss your family? Want to get back to them? John suddenly stepped closer. I ended up pressed against the balcony wall. If he came any nearer, I'd either fall or have to grab him. I don't have family. What about a girlfriend? Wife? Kids? I shook my head, remembering he couldn't see it, then added quickly, "Nope, single, just me." John seemed to smirk a little, then stepped back. That moment felt oddly familiar, like I'd been here before. My freshman year, one of the girls gave me a box of chocolates. I thought John would like them, so brought it back. He took that box, chewing as he asked, "Bro got a girlfriend? She hot. When you bringing her around to show me?" The closer he talked, the closer he got, pushing me into the corner. He leaned against the wall, chewing on chocolate with a sly grin. Before I even knew it, he bit down on my neck, leaving a red mark. The taste lingered, bitter and sweet, like the chocolate still in his mouth. "Brother, you can't do that. You're mine. Then stay here tonight. You can wear my clothes. It's pouring outside. Probably not safe to head back now." That wasn't rain. It was the neighbor 2 doors down washing their car. "Looks like it's really coming down. Sorry to intrude." Lying in a familiar room, on a familiar bed, the sheets and duvet were new, clean, with that sun-dried scent after washing. The bookshelf in the corner was still sealed behind glass. The same books I used to read. Everything felt unreal, but perfect. I lay awake, time slipping by unnoticed. My mind wandered. Did John give me this room because he recognized me? Or is he just pretending to let go of his brother? Or is he actually, as he claimed? Mom's a germaphobe. 2 guest rooms, one turned into an office, the other still untouched. "You can stay in my older brother's room first." He smiled, a little hollow. Anyway, the rest was too quiet for me to catch, and I didn't dare ask again. The vacation lasted 7 days. I used every single one. I took John around the neighborhood again, retracing our steps. He'd always wait under the banyan tree after school. Now it had a proper bench to sit on. Back then, there was nothing like that. He'd stand for hours. I'd come over and carry him home. He'd lie on my back, warm breath brushing my neck, telling me about his day. The handmade cotton candy by the school gate was gone, replaced now with double the price, wrapped in plastic, fancier and brighter. I bought one for John, watching him nibble it slowly, sugar smudged at the corner of his mouth. I really wanted to kiss him. The market was packed. Some spots had puddles you couldn't avoid. I held his hand, and he followed right behind me like a good little kid. I bought 2 tomatoes, rinsed them clean with mineral water, handed one to him. He fumbled for a moment, then passed the bigger one back to me. The old wonton stall was still there, but the new owner was the original guy's son. 2 bowls of wontons. I added a sprinkle of cilantro to John's, and he slid 2 spoonfuls of chili oil into mine. John picked up on the household routines and daily life habits fast. I never taught him about chores. Truth be told, I didn't really want to. I just liked doing them myself. I loved being in charge of the home. Since that rain that never actually fell, neither of us brought up me moving out. And I didn't either. I snuck back to my old rental twice just to grab clothes. John was sitting in the living room, typing away on his laptop, wearing headphones. He had a braille keyboard hooked up to the computer, writing a passage, then converting it into voice for editing. 2 of John's published essay collections sat on the table. He'd always loved reading back when he could still see. When his sight was still good, he'd hold a book close and read it over and over again. After his vision started fading, I'd carry him in my arms and read every book to him, whatever he wanted to hear. That's when he learned Braille too. He called it better safe than sorry. Later, when I went off to college, he started listening to audiobooks with his portable player and began reading by himself, using books engraved in Braille. Now, he even writes his own books and publishes them. If I had to describe John, I'd say he's optimistic, tough as nails, never gives up. When life throws mud at him, he plants lotus flowers with it, covered in muck, yet the whole room still smells of blossoms. I shut the door as quietly as I could. John still heard it and pulled off his headphones. "Anthony, why don't you just stay here? If your commute's a hassle, I can cover your transport costs. Do I need to apply somewhere? For something like this, do I have to prove anything? I can handle the paperwork." He rubbed his ears. "Come on, man, help me out here. Could you also go over these docs for me? I'm in these headphones all day, and my ears are killing me." Both ears were definitely red. "It's possible, but you don't even have a shred of caution. I'm still a stranger to you." I couldn't trust him alone at home, not with some creep showing up at the door and him asking if they wanted to stay too. He shot back at me. "You really think you're a stranger?" I didn't know, but I couldn't say no to John. Never could. His new book. It's a novel about us, our story, called *Tonight's Evening Breeze Star. I asked him why that name. He flashed a mischievous grin. "You figure it out yourself." I couldn't come up with anything. My eyes landed on the words he'd crafted. Caleb's stunning, like spring wind brushing through a field of wheat, swaying in sunlight, rippling with a vibrant green glow. He's the soft hush of moonlight through gauze, the bold stroke of crimson clouds at dusk, the delicate frost of early dawn, the sky scattered with stars, endless and bright. Caleb wasn't that handsome. Caleb's the tall tree. John's the honeysuckle clinging to his roots. The higher he grows, the farther I can see. I live on him, feeding off his strength, growing strong, tangled up with him, no clear line between us. I've got to grow big, to stretch wide leaves above his head. When storms rage and lightning splits the sky, my body trembles, branches whipping in the wind. But I'll hold up a little patch of sky, shield him from rain, whisper, "Don't worry, don't be afraid. After the storm, I'll be there with you, watching the rainbow together." Tears spilled onto my hand. Caleb wasn't that good. Couldn't possibly deserve it. He's timid, selfish. He fears your disgust so much he won't even look you in the eye. His gaze lingers on you 1,000 times over, but his hand only dares brush your fingertips. My brother's dream, to be a doctor. He says he'll become the best eye surgeon, so I never lose my sight. But I know it's not just for me. My brother's that good. He'd bring light and hope to every patient who walks through his door. When the college entrance exam was over and it was time to fill out the college application forms, John had a shouting match with his adoptive mother. At that point, John could only make out shapes dimly. His adoptive mother wanted me to stay by his side, taking care of him day and night. She wouldn't let me go to school, so John refused to eat. She gave in. God, raising you feels like dealing with a walking debt collector. John clung to her, pouting and whining like he always did. I had to let John fight for my future, just like everything else. But still, you gave it all, Caleb, and yet couldn't give you back your sight. What if none of that mattered? Would you still like him? Could you forgive him? Even love him a little? John didn't stop moving. He turned his head toward me. If my brother's happy, then anything is okay. His expression was dead serious. I stammered, practically begging for an answer. Then, would you forgive him when he abandoned you, left you behind? At your weakest moment, could there ever be a reason, even one with real pain behind it, that'd excuse that? Anthony, I can't answer that for you. He smiled, soft as water, hiding every true feeling beneath. Let Caleb come ask me himself. The vacation was over, and since John's first draft outline had passed review, the editor was pushing hard. I took a few more days off. We stayed home, hunched over the laptop, fine-tuning for days straight. John dictated while I typed. The rhythm between us was perfect. Effortless. Sometimes, watching his profile caught in the sunlight, I'd forget we'd ever been apart. The words on the screen, shaped into chapters, felt like our shared days, our unbroken thread through all those years. 10 seasons of turning, a fragile strand stitching together 5 long years of separation. All that pain, every sob. It was just some nightmare you wake up from, still shaking. But when it ended, we were still in love. This morning, I picked up the freshest Napa cabbage I could find. Called Grandma to ask how to make her famous Napa cabbage and pork chop noodles. The cabbage was crisp, the pork chops rich and deep, the noodles springy and smooth. John'd love it. Been too busy lately, he hasn't eaten right in weeks. Grandma went step by step with me, patient as ever, then asked at the end, "When are you bringing him to meet me?" John propped his chin in his hand, eyes fixed on the kitchen, grinning like a kid. I just smiled. Almost there. I'd been meaning to find a chance to be honest with John. If Caleb really apologizes and means it, could you forgive him? If not, I'll come back after you've cooled off and try again. Before heading back to school, I'd made sure to remind John carefully. I've got the keys. Just let yourself in. Don't open the door right away if someone knocks. Could be trouble. In case they try to grab you. Lunch is covered. I packed dumplings and they're in the second fridge shelf. Just boil them, add cold water twice, and don't forget to turn off the heat. And hey, don't wear headphones too long or keep typing nonstop. Take a break every 2 hours and go walk around the yard for a bit. I'll be back by evening, so if you get hungry, grab some fruit. I'm cooking dinner, I've got it covered. No need to touch water or anything. And no washing dishes. Don't even think about it. Then he suddenly pulled me into a hug. I didn't know what to do with my hands or feet. Come back soon. I'll be waiting at home. Waiting at home. John said he'd be waiting at home. I stepped into the office, and a coworker tossed an apple at me. Anthony, been on vacation forever. Looking like you won the lottery? No, but honestly, it's even better than that. One morning slipped by in a flash. I checked my phone. John had messaged me 2 hours ago. Hey, any good computer shops nearby? My laptop's acting up. Today I'd been stuck in back-to-back lectures and meetings. Hadn't gotten a chance to look at my phone. Just about to send a video when another message came through. A steaming bowl of dumplings, half his face visible, the laptop screen glowing behind him. Got it fixed. Dumplings were amazing. Pretty slick. I got it fixed. These dumplings are amazing. Pretty slick of me. Don't forget to eat. Blink and suddenly it's graduation season. I'm busy shepherding students into the real world. Job hunting's a constant tightrope walk. These are special kids, bright young stars of our homeland. I won't relax till they're all settled. Once things calm down, I'll circle back to John. Final drafts in, done and dusted. Print ready. The signing event kicks off 2 weeks from now. Been practicing my signature like crazy lately. John, the writing's really good. I taught him step by step myself. On the day of the book signing, I've got a student who's gonna come. I specifically called and asked Andrew to accompany him/her. I'll be there as soon as I'm done. Shouldn't take too long. Just got the students settled and gave a few quick instructions. Then my phone starts buzzing like crazy. It's Andrew. Anthony. Where are you? You know how to prove John's book is really his own? I'm already halfway to the signing event, asking what's up. The Night Breeze has been accused of plagiarism. Before even the publisher's official announcement, chunks of the manuscript were leaked, changed the title, tweaked a few lines. Since someone else posted it first, John's suddenly the copycat. What kind of proof do we even need? My history with John. No one else could ever replicate that. Andrew. They know it, we know it, but readers don't. Can't pop your skull open and project your memories like a movie. John's computer was tampered with. That guy who fixed it, John even praised him, said he was super helpful. Fixed the laptop, no problem. Even offered to drive him home when he looked tired. And chatted while doing it. Just empty talk, playing the game, and stealing. Stole John's life's work. Tried to claim it as his own. I've got proof. Protect John. Stay put until I get there. The irreplaceable past I shared with John. It's all in my hands now. Made a quick trip back to the rental apartment, then rushed straight to the signing event. Traffic was a nightmare. I jumped out early and ran like hell, heart pounding like it might give out. What I clutched in my arms. A thick photo album. Our shared history. I was terrified. What if I never see John again? What if time's too cruel, and I forget his face? I escaped the hospital, slipped into the still smoldering wreckage of the fire scene, grabbed this album. The cover was scorched, blackened from flames. Andrew stepped in front of John, covered his ears, shielding him from the gossip and whispers around them. John wore the clothes I'd fixed up that morning. The collar still had a sprig of jasmine with dew on it. He sat expressionless, face pale as paper. I walked over and set the album down on the table, began pulling out photos one by one. This one, 4-year-old John, 8-year-old Caleb. The image was grainy and faded from years ago, but you could just make out a small kid, short in stature, leaping into the arms of a taller boy. These photos were taken by our foster mom, our first meeting. Chapter 1. The first encounter. This photo's from when Caleb was 9. John gave him a really cool sticker for his birthday. The two kids had cream all over their faces. Chapter 3. My first birthday with my brother. This one's Caleb at 18. His coming-of-age celebration, taken at school. That day was packed with people. We were holding hands, and John gave me this huge bouquet of sunflowers. And this one, Caleb graduating from med school. Got his postgraduate offer accepted. John snapped the photo himself. I didn't quite nail the focus, the shot's a little blurry, but I'm beaming, looking right at John. Over 100 pictures. I can tell you exactly where each one came from. 5 years. I've been alone, keeping our old memories alive. The audience fell silent as I spoke. John pushed past Andrew's hand. His eyes were red, locked on me. Even now, some folks in the crowd still eye John with doubt. I never saw the final episode of Asterisk Tonight. There is a breeze asterisk. Don't know where John left his pen. What kind of ending did he leave us with? I took off my mask. The sweat on me had dried and then come back again. I'm Caleb, the brother from John's story. I'm his proof, other than a burn mark from my cheek down to my neck. I don't look all that different from the photo. Not much older, but uglier. No moonlight, no dawn sky, not even a star in the night. I already called the police. Even John didn't know. I'd installed cameras in the living room. Actually, I put one in the kitchen too, and another by the front door. First, it was just to keep an eye on him when he was home alone. Never thought I'd catch that guy walking right in, pretending to fix a computer, then copying John's manuscript. As for what comes next, the law give John his due. The book signing goes on. John sits quietly at his spot, signing his name in every book handed to him. I stand at the back, pulling out my phone to snap a photo of him. A reader places flowers at his feet. John's really handsome. John's future's gonna be one long trail of blossoms. Excuse me. Could you sign your name in this book for me? Huh? I looked down, a girl held up a book. I've been totally obsessed with the stories in Samuel's book. Thought the characters were just made up. My brother's just a utopia Samuel imagined. A guy that perfect is actually real. No, wait, I didn't mean it like that. I smiled, watching her flustered explanation. Took the pen from her hand. There's no perfect person. Just love making you see things through rose-tinted lenses. John's new book landed in my hands. White cover, with the banyan tree, The one he'd waited for me under so many times. Two boy silhouettes holding hands, one taller, one shorter, walking side by side. A line scrawled beside them, "Caleb, tonight there's a breeze." I flipped open the book and wrote my name. My old name, one I hadn't used in 5 years. Caleb. Turned to the last page. The story stops right at our best moment. John stayed behind. To be continued. I finally understood the title's meaning. John, tonight there's a breeze. The signing went smoother than expected. Thanks to that little scene, we ended up staying 2 hours past our scheduled time. Andrew stuffed the bouquet from the readers into the car. "I'll take these home for you. Go ahead and talk it out when you're done." He gave me a quick wink. "Handle this yourself." John was still playing nice with the fans, snapping photos. So gentle, so calm, no hint of emotion, like nothing had even happened. I nodded. Even I knew he'd recognized me ages ago, but he refused to talk, and I was stuck with nothing. From afternoon straight through to night. Ate just as much, snacks twice over, came up with a whole list of topics. Bit my tongue mid-sentence. All of it shot down the moment I opened my mouth. He just smiled that same soft smile, like he knew everything, yet said, "What was that?" "Sorry, I didn't catch a word." Worst part, he showered, then came knocking on my door on purpose. "Night night, Anthony, bro." Fine, so it was deliberate. I chased after him to his room, hand raised to knock. Then the door swung open. He cracked the door open just a sliver, one hand shooting out to hook around my neck and tug me inside with a gentle pull. The room was dark, lit only by the faint glow of streetlights seeping through the curtains, spilling a soft halo across his face. He smelled fresh, like he'd just stepped out of the shower, that clean, damp warmth brushing right against my nose. "John, what's up?" My throat tightened, voice shaky. "Baby." He rose onto his toes, forehead pressing to mine, cheek brushing mine in a quiet, tender gesture. The next second, he wrapped himself around me, tight, like he was trying to crush 5 years of missing into one single embrace. "You still like me?" His voice was barely a whisper, thick with a soft, trembly edge. "You still like me?" His voice was soft, tinged with a little sniffle. "I do. I always have." He lifted his head, lashes fluttering in the dim light. Then suddenly, he smiled. The rain still tapped against the window, but here, in my arms, he laughed. A real laugh, warm and low. In that moment, I heard only my heartbeat, racing louder than the storm outside, yet fiercer, more certain than ever before. I pulled him closer, jaw resting in the curve of his shoulder. Moonlight slipped through the curtain gap, pooling over our tangled shadows, like some quiet seal on a reunion that had been 5 years too late. We found a time to go see Grandma. She'd cooked up a whole spread, and I was helping her chop veggies by the counter. John sat on the floor in the living room, playing with Snowball, one man, one cat, whispering about something no one else knows. This beautiful, bustling world, so full of life, feels so much like home. At the table, Grandma and John are laughing and chatting away. I'm just sitting there, passing dishes back and forth. Can't even jump into the conversation. The shrimp today are amazing. One for Grandma, one for John, another one for John again. The greens are crisp, the chicken wings smell heavenly, and the soup, absolutely rich and deep. "Bro," John quietly asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why? Feels like I'm eating more and more with every meal." Grandma gave him a sly smile but kept quiet. "Probably just in your head. Try again. Keep pushing." His phone buzzed once. Andrew's message came through. "You two are uncles now. Twins, one each. Bring the little ones home for the holidays." Two chubby baby faces, already sporting that unmistakable Andrew guy look. Time flies when you're not paying attention. From reunion to right now, it's all happened in a blink. That soul-deep spring rain had turned into swirling snow outside the window. I tied John's scarf just right and helped him into his coat. Said goodbye to Grandma, walking side by side through the first snow of evening. "John, there's a breeze tonight. Wanna hold my hand?" He grinned. Remembering now? I'd remembered long ago. Our little signal. There's a breeze tonight. From the very first page, he'd been asking me whether I wanted to hold his hand. His warm hand slipped into mine, cradled in my palm. I held him close, and he walked with me through a sea of glowing windows. The snow fell like powdered sugar scattered from the sky. Even the air tasted sharp and sweet, icy clean. I pulled him into the shadow of a wall and kissed him softly, not because of the snow, because he was sweet, just sweet. Bonus: 2 conversations Caleb never knew about. 1. John and Mom. John's first words after waking from the hospital bed. Mom. Where's Caleb? Caleb's dead. Are you happy now? You're blind. Do you even know that? John knew he'd lost his sight, but he couldn't believe Caleb was gone. He fumbled blindly, tumbling off the bed and landing on his knees, staring toward where he thought her voice came from, trembling. Mom. Where's Caleb? Where is he? I just want to see him. Just once. Is that too much? He was already shaping a lie, some fake promise to trick her into letting him see his brother one last time. He's in surgery. Burns all over. They had to move the bookshelf off him. He took the whole impact on his back. Skin and muscle just gone. John wanted to argue. You're lying, Mom. This isn't funny. Mom, I'm terrified. He ran his hands over his own body. No cuts, no bruises, nothing. Do you have any idea how much surgery costs? Or what the follow-up treatment will run? John, you're coming with me to America. Cut ties with Caleb. I'll get him the best care possible. John shook his head. Mom, if you don't treat my brother, I'll die. It was a threat. Mom, if he dies, I won't survive either. If you don't save him, then don't bother saving me either. Mom let out a short, sharp laugh at John's face. John, how about a bet? Let's wager on the heart. When he wakes up, he won't want you anymore. John, are you ready to face being abandoned? You lose? Then you come with me to America. John asked. And if I win? You won't win. John lost. He agreed to go to America, insisting again and again that Mom would give Caleb the best treatment available. He stayed calm, unlike anyone expected. Even his mom, who'd braced for a meltdown, was stunned. John had no idea what kind of pressure Mom had put on Caleb, but he still believed it wasn't his brother's real words. 16 years together, we know each other better than anyone else. Caleb will meet again. 2. John and Andrew. John pulled the man into the yard and shut the door behind them. Before Andrew could speak, John cut in. I know he's my brother. I know it's Caleb. He knew the rhythm of Caleb's footsteps, the beat of his heart, the sound of his breath. The voice changed, but the way he spoke, that never did. When he said yes, John knew it was him. Caleb, the brother, the lover, the long-lost reunion, the second chance he'd been waiting for. You knew? Then why did you let him in? Don't you remember what he did back then? You know that? Then why did you let him in? Don't tell me you forgot what he did back then. John cut off Andrew mid-sentence. A quiet smile. We both had our reasons for leaving. We weren't perfect. I'm not mad at him. I messed up too. Andrew, I know you don't get what we share. I came back to this country just for him. To find him? I'm thrilled it happened so fast. Andrew was about to explode. But it was John, the kid he'd raised like his own brother all these years. He'd go to the ends of the earth for it. Stars, moon, even heaven itself, he'd find a way. But no, he just has to want Caleb. That same Caleb who tore him apart when he was at his lowest. John, for the love of God, snap out of it. Why wouldn't he tell you if he was in trouble? Now he shows up again under a new name, a new identity. John, even love needs honesty. For all we know, he might already be married, with kids by now. Andrew went on, but John wouldn't budge. He started sulking instead. Andrew, man, can you just leave us alone? Please, just pretend you never saw anything. Forget it ever happened. Don't scare him, and don't tell him I recognized him. I've always looked up to you like a real brother, please. Andrew couldn't take it anymore. John was stubborn, just like he'd always been. Remember when he got that one candy as a kid? He kept it in his pocket, clutching it tight. Even on the hottest days, over 30 degrees, he never let go. Never cried, even when it melted. Waited all day until Caleb came back before finally opening his hand. A crumpled mess of sugar and wrapper, half dissolved. But they still shared it, eating right off each other's palms. Didn't care about the mess. He couldn't understand it, but he respected it. Couldn't bring himself to wish him well just yet. Flashback. John had fled 4 times before finally returning to his side. It was John who set the fire. Not that he wanted to burn down the house, just needed to melt through the old wooden window frame. The candle? Caleb had bought it for him. A soft blue, wrapped in a heart-shaped wrapper, with little decorative charms floating inside the wax. When lit, it smelled like ocean breeze mixed with just a hint of lavender, sweet and calming. John had only ever used it once. Couldn't bear to burn it again after that. He'd packed his things, ready to jump out the window and run. Just wanted to vanish with Caleb anywhere at all. Didn't want to be that glass prince stuck up in the attic anymore. Didn't want to be a fragile porcelain doll. Just wanted to be a bird, flying away with his brother, free and wild. Worried about Caleb's injuries. Terrified Mom might actually call the police. Didn't know where Caleb was now. He hadn't even worn a coat. His eyes were already fading by then. Reached for the window, knocked over the candle, set the curtain alight. Flames roared up fast, spreading like hunger. John couldn't open his eyes. Stumbled toward the door, tripped over clutter in panic. Thick smoke. Thin air. He started sobbing, screaming for help. Mom! Caleb! Mom! Open the door. Smoke burned into his lungs, triggering violent coughs that tore tears from his eyes. So sharp, he screamed. His consciousness faded, every struggle slipping away. Even Mom's frantic voice dissolved into silence. All he thought was, just one more look at my brother. That'd be enough. Years later, whenever he touched the scars left by his brother's rescue, or the life it ruined, he'd wonder, maybe it would have been better if my brother hadn't come. His first surgery in America. John regained his sight. He could make out shapes, blurry, but enough to tell what something was. He followed every treatment plan without a word. Rehab went smooth as silk. Perfectly obedient, almost too good to be true. 6 months later, he ran away, bought a ticket, mapped the route, packed his own things. Halfway across the street, his ride was waiting on the other side. Then everything went black. He froze, trapped between two worlds, when a speeding car smashed into his leg. His leg healed in 6 months, but his eyes never did. Mom slapped him for the first time, 2 hard ones right across the face. Then she pulled him into her arms and sobbed uncontrollably. Are you trying to kill your mom just to feel satisfied? John tore the whole house apart. Curling up in a corner, he huddled into himself. He counted silently in his head. 1 year. It had been a full year since he'd last seen his brother. The second surgery came right after John left for America, 2 years later. His mother's reputation was now priceless. She'd paid through the nose for the best ophthalmologist to operate on John. The surgery lasted nearly 20 hours. After recovery, John could actually see again clearly, not blurry like before, not perfect vision by any stretch, but enough to live normally. He'd waited a whole year this time, obsessed with following every instruction, almost obsessive. Even the doctor said he was way too anxious. And then he ran again. With zero risk, he boarded his flight and landed in Rongqing. The familiar streets greeted him, the distant neon signs flickering. Andrew already waiting at the airport to grab him. Seeing Andrew's angry face, he actually smiled. Even seeing Andrew furious, he still couldn't help but laugh. Then he couldn't laugh anymore. He was blind again, just for a moment. Andrew came walking down the hall, and before John's eyes, everything blurred, slowly fading into black. John didn't cry, didn't fuss. He said it softly. Andrew, I can't see anymore. Could you please take me back to America? No one was to blame. This had always been a high-risk procedure. The doctors had warned him from the start. You just have to roll with it. Maybe you'll never see again after this, or maybe today's light will vanish by tomorrow, or maybe you'll live your whole life still able to see. Who knows? Life always just short of mercy, yet cruel enough to dangle hope like a carrot on a stick. John was completely blind now. There was no point in surgery anymore. It was the 3rd year since John and Caleb had parted ways. John finally accepted it. His blindness wasn't going away. He'd learned Braille back then, prepared ahead of time. Now that path was easy to retrace. He went through the essays he'd written since coming to America, glad that tech had advanced so fast. It meant he could still write, type on a computer, keep creating, no matter what. At this point, Mom wasn't afraid he'd run away anymore. Mom was terrified John would die, but John seemed calmer than ever, like a regular guy. He'd helped Mom build a new life, watching over his own little brother when he was born. Published his first collection of essays. The royalties were enough to support him. He told Mom, I want to go back to Rongqing to find Caleb. I'm really in love with him. John was nearly 25 now. Less of a kid, more grounded. This was the first time he'd opened up to his mom like this. Mom, you're a great mom. But I wasn't a good son. I was selfish and stubborn. My health never right. I've made you worry your whole life. I don't have anything to give back. Maybe even your old age will depend on your younger son. Mom, I don't want anything. except to go back to Rongqing to find Caleb. I miss him so much it's driving me crazy. In John, Mom saw the fierce courage she'd once had as a girl. 19 years old, wronged by love, never married, just pregnant and giving birth alone. Raising her son by herself, working hell to earn enough for his life. She'd misread love once and refused to let her son fall into the same trap. But blood's blood. It runs in the veins. The more you fear something, the more likely it is to happen. Still ended up with a guy. Someone she'd personally picked out as her brother. Mom asked John. 5 years have passed. If Caleb's already started a new life, married, got kids, what would you do? He won't. Caleb will never leave John. He paused, then laughed softly. If there were such a what if, I'd stay in Rongqing, find a quiet corner, curl up and just live slowly, write a book, leave behind our story. This time, it was Mom who took John to the airport. She looked at her eldest son. Gentle face, stubborn spirit, unyielding strength. A man who'd walk straight through to the end of the road, head-butting walls if he had to, never turning back. In the end, she only quietly asked Andrew to keep an eye on him. To John, she said, Mom's always here for you. Welcome home anytime. Mom will always love you. Later on, years passed. John brought Caleb back home, their fingers locked together, tight as ever. Never forgotten the promise to walk hand in hand to old age.